My name is Kay Alston. I'm 32, and I was born into a Southern family that treats bloodlines like bank accounts. Some accrue interest and some just drain. My sister Blythe was always the chosen one. Pageant perfect, fundraiser darling, mom's pride. I, on the other hand, built my own name outside the family walls, quiet, strategic, invisible. I've spent most of my adult life sitting at their tables without ever truly having a seat. For years, I told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't need their approval to exist. But last night, I stood outside my mother's birthday dinner, blocked at the door, laughed at by my own sister, and that's when I realized this wasn't neglect. It was war, and they should have known better than to start a war with someone who owns the battlefield. The valet barely made eye contact. His hands hovered at his waist as I stepped out of the rental. Black pants, black blouse, black heels, nothing flashy, just sharp. Understated enough to go unnoticed. Deliberate enough to own the night. The Viridian's rooftop glowed above Savannah's skyline like it was auditioning for a lifestyle magazine. Every glass panel gleamed. Every laugh spilling from the balcony was soaked in white wine and old money. And then there was Blythe, waiting at the entrance, arms crossed, lipstick perfect, like she'd rehearsed the moment. "Seriously," she said, one brow arching, "you're showing up like this?" I didn't respond. I didn't have to. She leaned in. "This isn't the kind of dinner you can afford to crash, Kay. You weren't invited. Don't make this embarrassing." Her tone was light, but her eyes were razors. Behind her, I saw silhouettes moving through champagne fog. A live trio played something soft and boring. A waiter slipped past holding truffle crostini. I caught a glimpse of our mother, pale blue dress, gold earrings, laughing. She saw me and turned away like I was street noise. Security stepped forward. Not aggressive, just ready. "Ma'am, this is a private event," one said. Calm, practiced, like they were used to this. I smiled, turned, walked. The heels didn't click. The street swallowed the sound. I didn't go home. The office was dark. I left the lights off. The desk recognized my fingerprint. The drawer hissed open. Inside, one document, sealed in plastic, edges worn from travel. Ownership certificate, the Viridian Holdings, LLC. Owner 1, Kay Alston. Owner 2, Miriam Caldwell Trust, partial silent partner. No mention of Blythe. None. The security footage from last quarter was already on my cloud. I'd kept it. Don't ask me why. A single quote slipped through my mind like a needle. Power doesn't shout. It watches. I slid the document into a slim black folio, locked the drawer again, pulled out my phone. No missed calls. No apologies. Just silence. Then one notification. A push alert from the restaurant system. A new client access had been granted under emergency override 30 minutes ago. Name, B. Alston. They used my code. My override. My name. I stood very still. The city buzzed outside like a lie being kept too long. To some people, silence is weakness. To me, it's loaded. You erased me from the table. Let me show you what happens when the owner stops being silent. I called Victor just after 2 a.m. No greetings, just the sound of paper sliding, a computer humming, and the soft click of a locked drawer being opened on his end. "I need 2 things," I said. "Latest ownership records for the Viridian, and a trace on any recent authorizations made under my name." Victor didn't ask questions. Not yet. He just said, "Give me 2 hours. This goes deeper, doesn't it?" "It's not just dinner anymore," I said. "Someone used my override. They accessed my accounts." Pause. "I'll check shell activity. We'll start with Georgia Business Registry, then drop into the legal end of the tax filings." A beat. Then his voice dropped lower. "Kay, you sure you want to dig into this? Family games can get expensive." I smiled into the dark. No one plays fair when the table's made of glass. The Viridian at dawn was different. No noise. No clinking glasses. Just a skeletal crew prepping for another high society illusion. I slipped past the delivery trucks and through the rear loading dock. My ID still worked. No alarms. No flags. Inside, the air was sharp with lemon polish and chilled steel. The office smelled like old contracts and clean crime. I moved straight to the back, past wine racks and billing cabinets, until I reached the locked drawer we never spoke about. Digital pad. Thumbprint. Click. Inside, a file marked Internal Expense Flags, Private Events, Q2. I flipped it open. 5 pages deep. Event ID, Caldwell birthday. Host, Cordelia Vance. Billing contact, B. Alston. Venue override, K. Alston. My name. Used. Stamped. Signed. Without me. They didn't just block me from dinner. They hosted it under my credentials. I stared at the number. $25,450. Catered menu. Imported champagne. Floral custom order. All routed through a shell account named C&M Trust. C equals Cordelia. M equals Miriam. They were laundering my restaurant through my family's legacy. Stop thinking like the victim, my father used to say. Start thinking like the one holding the blade. I closed the file. My pulse was steady, the kind of stillness that means something's about to break. Then movement, a shape in the hallway. One of the sous chefs, young, nervous. He paused when he saw me. You're not supposed to, I didn't know. I cut him off. Who gave the final sign-off last night? Ms. Vance, I think. She had access. Said it was cleared. And Blythe? He nodded, swallowed hard. She coordinated the guest list, sent staff changes through internal portal. I stepped closer. Did she use her login? No. Yours. Cut scene. Phone buzzed once. Victor. Kay, listen carefully. I ran your name against the Georgia records. Someone filed a preliminary transfer of interest. Your signature's on it. I never signed anything. I know. It was forged. Cold air ran down my spine like a wet match. And the authorization. There's a third name. A witness. Cordelia Vance. I laughed. Dry. Mean. Of course. Victor's voice was steel now. Want to know where the wire transfer originated? Tell me. Trust fund under the Alston account. Subsection. Education grant, Natalie Carr. I stopped breathing. Natalie Carr. My old assistant. Gone silent 6 months ago. I thought she left clean. She didn't. She sold me out. Back at my car, I opened the cloud security app. Access logs. Time-stamped entries. Last night. Remote access to my override settings from a location in Charleston. Device MacBook Pro. Device ID. Matches Natalie's old work unit. I sat in the driver's seat. No music, just the low hum of my engine. Every asset I'd built, the restaurant, the brand, my name, it was all under attack. Quietly, from the inside. Trust isn't a currency. It's a loaded gun with no safety. I picked up my phone and typed one message to Victor. Find Natalie. I want her address. I want her voice on record. I pulled out of the lot. The Viridian stood tall behind me. Glass walls. Clean lines. But everything inside was rot. She didn't just block me. She stole from me. And now I want the receipt that my phone started ringing at 6:12 a.m. Then again. And again. 30 missed calls. I didn't pick up a single one. Blythe. Cordelia. Even my mother. I didn't need apologies. I needed leverage. The morning light in Savannah never felt warm to me. It felt like an interrogation. Harsh. Honest. Unforgiving. Victor met me in person this time. Downtown office. Steel and glass and silence. He slid a manila envelope across the table. His face gave nothing away. 3 things, he said. You're still the majority stakeholder. The Viridian's assets are frozen pending your approval. But he tapped the file. Someone tried to push a transfer of interest last month. Your signature, not yours. I flipped the first page. A scan of a form, notarized, dated, stamped. My name. My signature. Not my hand. Who authorized it? I asked. Victor leaned back, laced his fingers. Cordelia Vance. With supporting documentation from Blythe Alston. They used Natalie Carr as the courier. My throat tightened. A cold punch to the chest. Not just betrayal, a full orchestration. The notary was fake, Victor added, but slick. Mobile license out of Beaufort. She's done this before. I looked down, my own name staring back at me in forged ink. You know what's worse than being cut out? I said, being replaced with a counterfeit version of yourself. We drove to my mother's house, not to talk, to intercept. There was a package coming in, a rush overnight courier addressed to me. Victor tracked it through our legal alert system, labeled Final Docs, Voluntary Exit Agreement. We waited in the car, heat off, windows cracked, a low hum of cicadas outside. At 9:14, a black SUV pulled in. Delivery man with a clipboard. I stepped out before the bell rang. Miss Alston, he asked. Yep, that's me. I signed, took the envelope, didn't flinch. Back inside the car, I opened it. One page. Simple. Formal withdrawal of interest and voting rights in the Viridian Holdings, LLC. Effective immediately. Signed, K. Alston. Witnessed, Natalie Carr. Notarized, Cordelia Vance. There was no return address. Victor muttered, This is coordinated. It's war, I said. At 3:42 p.m., I walked back into the Viridian. No appointment. No warning. No Josetashchin. The staff stilled. I moved like I belonged because I did. The event manager, a tall woman named Ray, rushed up to me. Miss Alston, we weren't expecting. I cut her off. I'll be hosting tonight's event. Under my name. Tell the kitchen. Her mouth opened. Closed. But Ms. Vance is no longer authorized. Any resistance, I start calling the press. She blinked. I turned, walked past her, through the corridor, past the bar. My heels echoed like gunshots across the tile. Upstairs, the main hall was being prepped for another fundraiser. Sleek black linens, wine glasses, stage lighting. I walked straight to the control room. Entered the code. Security logs lit up the screen. Access from Blythe's burner login. Override through Natalie's VPN. Everything they touched was traceable now. Everything they did thinking I'd stay quiet. The hallway outside was too quiet, too still. I reached for the drawer under the AV panel, where I kept backup drives. One was missing. I froze. Then behind me, a whisper. Someone's always watching, Kay. You just forgot where the mirrors are. I spun around. Empty hallway. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. Tell them the ghost owner is back, and she's watching everything. Night returned to Savannah like a blade sliding back into its sheath. Quiet, smooth, pretending it hadn't tasted blood. I wasn't going to sneak into the Viridian. I walked through the front doors as if I'd been expected all along. Black suit, hair pulled tight, eyes colder than the marble floors. A quote echoed in my mind, something I once heard a judge say. Power doesn't announce itself. It arrives. Tonight I arrived. The lobby was humming with donors in pearls and politicians in tailored gilt. Another Cordelia Vance special. Her monthly performance of philanthropy as theater. Gold lighting. Overdressed strangers. Guilt disguised as generosity. Cordelia stood near the champagne tower, mid-laugh. When she saw me, her face stuttered, smile collapsing for a fraction of a second before she glued it back on. Kay, she said, voice stretched thin. What an unexpected surprise. Unexpected usually means unapproved, I replied. But I never liked asking for permission. Blythe materialized at her side, like a shadow with lipstick. "Kay, this isn't the time." "Then you should have picked a better time to steal my signature." Her breath hitched. Cordelia's eyes flicked to the room, calculating angles, witnesses, escape routes. That's the thing about people who think they're predators. They panic the moment the prey stops running. Cut scene. I stepped onto the stage stairs and motioned to the general manager. "Play the file," I whispered. She hesitated a beat, then obeyed. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way my voice didn't waver. Minutes later, in the security control room, the screens lit up with last night's footage. The kitchen cameras, the service hall, the private side door. There she was, Cordelia, ordering staff, directing table placements, signing my name on a digital invoice without blinking. Then the audio. Cordelia's voice, crisp and cruel. "It's done. She won't know. She won't show up." The manager choked on air. "Ms. Alston, this is fraud." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Cut to the ballroom. The moment the staff replayed the audio on the overhead speakers by mistake. The party froze. Music stuttered. A dozen heads turned toward Cordelia as her own voice accused her from above. Blythe whispered something sharp and terrified into her ear. Cordelia forced a smile like a dying light bulb. "Someone hacked our systems," she announced. "This is obviously manipulated." Her words were a match with no flame. I walked down the stairs slowly, letting every pair of eyes track me. "Funny," I said, "because the metadata says otherwise." Someone gasped. Someone else raised their phone. Cameras clicked like insects. And then the manager stepped forward, pale as thawed ice. "Ms. Vance," she said, "we need to discuss your access privileges." That was the first fracture, the crack across the glass. But it wasn't the one that mattered. Cut scene. Victor appeared at my shoulder, silent as a warning. "Got the transfer trails," he murmured. "And there's more." "Tell me." "Funds moved from Blythe's Trust into a shell LLC called NC Logistics." "NC," I repeated. "Natalie Carr." Victor nodded. "She didn't vanish. She was paid to disappear." I clenched my jaw. Loyalty breaks quietly, but betrayal? Betrayal shouts. "Anything else?" I asked. One more name showed up on the authorization paperwork. He handed me a printed sheet. Sharp letters. Fresh ink. Authorization witness, Natalie Carr. Filed by Cordelia Vance. Approved by Blythe Alston. Secondary consultant, Nolan Grady. I froze. Nolan Grady. Corporate compliance auditor. Family friend. The man Mom trusted with every legal question she didn't want to take to a real attorney. Why the hell was he in the middle of this? Victor spoke again low. "Once Nolan's involved, we're out of family drama territory. This is calculated." A pulse throbbed behind my eye. The kind that means a storm is coming, and you're standing right in front of the lightning. "You know what I once heard?" Victor said, "The moment you pull one thread, expect the whole tapestry to snarl." He looked at me. "You've pulled 3. Back in the ballroom, Cordelia hurried toward the exit, dragging Blythe by the wrist. I followed at a distance. Every chandelier flickered above us as if the building itself sensed the tension. Light trembling, shadows cutting across polished floors. Cordelia spun around. "What do you want, Kay? Money? Validation? Attention?" "I want the truth," I said. Her laugh was dry and panicked. "Truth? No one here cares about truth. They care about appearances. Then start appearing honest." She opened her mouth, but her phone buzzed. One message. She read it. Her expression cracked. "Let me see it," I said. She hesitated. "Now." She handed it over like it weighed 50 pounds. Text from an unknown number. "Secured the last document. Transfer is final. She's out. Timestamp. 2 hours before I walked in. I stared at it. A slow burn spread through my ribs. Someone wasn't just forging me. Someone was planning to erase me completely. And they thought they'd already won. The chandeliers above us hummed. The air tightened. Every instinct in my spine sharpened. This was bigger than Blythe. Bigger than Cordelia. There was a hand behind theirs. A puppeteer. And I just yanked the first string. And that's when I realized. They didn't just erase me. They replaced me. Rain hammered against the windshield as I drove toward Charleston. Headlights glared like accusation. My grip tightened on the wheel. 30 calls. 30 threats. 30 lies. None stopped me. The compound sat behind a chain-link fence, hidden beneath Spanish moss and creeping shadows. A single guard booth stood idle, light off. I parked 2 houses down. Engine off. Heart pounding. I pulled on gloves. Checked my phone. No signal. No tracking. Perfect. A narrow side gate creaked, quieter than a whisper. I slipped through. Inside, gravel crunch, distant thunder. The air tasted of salt and cold. I moved fast. No hesitation. Door unlocked. I kicked soft. Locked. I heard movement upstairs. Footsteps. Light creaking. I dropped to a crouch. Pressed against door frame. A figure passed the railing. White shirt. Blonde hair. Natalie Carr. She turned on a laptop at a small desk. Red letters. While reading Caldwell Estate. My breath froze. Cut scene. My boots on wood floor. Heart hammering. I reached out, flipped the lid, screen glowed. Guardian angels don't exist. They said, so in a crime documentary I watched. They said, when you walk into hell, expect the door to close behind you. I hit play. Camera angle. Old living room. My mother. Soft voice, eyes wet. I name my daughter Kay Alston, sole trustee of Caldwell Legacy Fund. I stepped back, stomach dropping. Then, fold over. Corridor creaked behind me. Someone's breath. I turned. A silhouette in the rain light. Standing still. Watching. Not a guard. My own shadow. A gun barrel appeared in the darkness. I heard the rain slow, like the world paused to watch. Drop it, a voice said. I raised my hand, slow, smooth. The barrel lowered. The figure stepped into light. Not a criminal. Not a stranger. My partner, Dashiell. His eyes on fire. He came in. Quiet. Controlled. You shouldn't be here, Kay. Flash of alarm. He moved fast. I twisted. Something cracked. A shot rang out, not at me. At the laptop. Wood splintered. Screen shattered. Data gone. 3rd floor light flickered. Rain pounded harder. He said quietly, you broke the pact. I felt knives fall against my ribs. Before I could respond, footfalls. Running footsteps upstairs. I grabbed Dashiell's wrist. Screamed. But echo swallowed the sound. Cut. Black. Zen. Sirens. I woke on the driveway of my car. Cold and wet. Dashiell gone. Heart still hammering. The laptop in the back seat. Key still in ignition. No video. No files. I pressed my palm to the back seat. Fingers damp. He destroyed it. But not everything. Inside the laptop, a hidden SSD. Protected. Encrypted. I didn't realize I'd slipped it into my coat pocket during the struggle. I retrieved it now. Flat. Cold. Hard truth. I plugged it into my phone. Password prompt. Took a breath. It opened. List of files. Old will. Signed amendment. Cash transfers. Shell accounts. Every ghost look. Every quiet deletion. Every betrayal. Corruption. Paperwork. Bloodless crime. I sat in the rain. Thunder rolled overhead. They thought they erased me. They thought I'd stay buried. But ghosts don't stay underground. They rise. And tonight I walked. I hit send on a group email. 3 addresses: Federal Prosecutor, State Securities Commission, Press. Subject line: Viridian Holdings, request for immediate investigation. I didn't wait for replies. I locked the car, walked away. Rain washed my face. Lightning cracked. They turned me into a silhouette. They thought the shadows hid their tracks. I replaced their darkness with evidence. Now the lights are coming on. If you wanted war, Blythe, you should have made sure I stayed buried. The ballroom lights dimmed. Soft gold. Polished wood floor. The air smelled like old money and fresh deceit. Guests adjusted their gowns. Glasses chimed. Music drifted through speakers, the kind of background noise that lets people feel safe. Ignorance is expensive. I walked through the sea of gowns and tuxedos like a ghost they forgot to exorcise. Heat rose in my chest, not fear. Focus. At the podium, Blythe raised her glass. Her voice was smooth. Family. Legacy. Trust. Claps. Smiles painted on. I waited. The crowd didn't see me until I stepped into the spotlight. Silence split the air. I nodded once. Slowly. Funny how legacy can change hands. Funny how trust can be wired like a bank transfer. I pressed a button. Lights cut. Sound crackled. Screens flickered. On every wall, the full footage played. The kitchen cameras. The back hallway. The signature forgery. The shell transactions. The trust fund rerouted. The courier logs. The internal emails. Phones lit like fireflies. Conversations dropped. Wine glasses shattered. Dresses rustled. Cam light. Flash. Guest phones recording. They saw what I saw. What I'd witnessed. Blythe went white. Color drained. She looked for help. Found only cameras. Cordelia's eyes darted. Guilt found form. She opened her mouth, but didn't speak. A man in a suit near the wall, face pale, reached for his phone. I spoke over the chaos. Quiet. Controlled. This house, the Viridian, the Caldwell name, they belong to me. Legally. Ethically. Morally. Cut scene. Security guards step forward. 2 arrests in slow motion. Cuffs closing, fabric ripping, shocked gasps. Hope isn't loud. Sometimes it's a whisper under casino chips. Sometimes it's the quiet of a gavel before it falls. Victor came forward, his face sharp, professional. He placed one final document on the podium. The original while reading, time-stamped notarization. Witness signatures, secure hash. The room went colder than the chandelier above. Blythe shook. Cordelia sobbed. The rest. Their faces frozen in the glow of betrayal screen. One of the older patrons, a man I barely knew, muttered, "Truth always costs more than lies." He looked at me. I nodded. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I felt only the weight of all the nights I sat at tables that weren't mine. The music died. Glasses drained. The crowd vanished. I took a slow step toward the terrace. The rain had started again, thin, steady, cleansing. Outside, the water lapped against the docks. Boats moored. Silent. Patient. I closed my eyes. In the quietest moment of all, I heard a voice. Don't wait for an invitation. Build your own table. My father's words. Late, but never wrong. I opened my eyes. The salt air tasted like truth, sharp, clear, real. I turned back once, glanced at the building. Glass and steel, mirrors and lies, and realized the reflection had changed. I walked away, not as a vanquished heir, not as a silent partner erased, but as the owner, as the one who refused to stay buried. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. Sometimes it steps into the light, slow, steady, inevitable. And tonight I walked.